All week long you've waited, and now it's time for Kickoff. Fighting Chance Kickoff. Starts and sits, injuries, weather, and the latest news. No hot takes, no BS, just the information you need to crush your competition. It's Fighting Chance Kickoff with Kevin Tompkins and Gary Haddow.
Good morning, all of you beautiful people. I am trying to gather up some energy because those farmers needed that extra hour. So we got it back here. This is Fighting Chance Kickoff. I am Kevin Tompkins, of course, of FightingChanceFantasy.com. And to my right on the screen, right there, I actually did it right for once because I don't know orientation. The wonderful, vivacious, as always, Gary Haddow, my friend. How are you this morning?
I'm good, man. I love that you're trying to say it was daylight savings that's making you tired and not the copious amounts of Halloween candy I imagine you ate just like I did.
I mean, that's like a Tuesday for me, eating Halloween candy. So not much really changed. We didn't actually get really any trick-or-treaters. A lot of people did like the trunk or treat, like in like random parking lots, which seems weird for me, I guess, but it's the world we live in, so it's kind of weird. But Halloween wouldn't be Halloween if it weren't a little weird, right?
Right.
Exactly. But we are in November now. We are in the throes of Chalktober is over. We are in the throes of November, and it's starting to look at me. I'm bundled up already. I got my nice I voted sticker here, so I forgot.
Were you actually able to?
Yeah. Well, I'll be good. My vote will be counted among the masses this election season, but we will not talk about that.
We'll talk about that later.
We will talk about Week 8 football, National Football League. So let's get into some injury news here before we get to your start and sit questions. If you have them, send them on over to us in the chat. We certainly thank you for your support. Also hit us up on Twitter at KTompkinsII, at Gary Haddow1. And Gary, my friend, let's get right into it with Aaron Jones is out again. So you're not really doing much except starting Jamal Williams. And he's a top 20 play for me this week. I don't really think that Minnesota is going to do a lot to stop him. The one thing we were worried about last week is the involvement of A.J. Dillon, but we really only saw him get 4 or 5 carries. So I'm not worried about him. I like a good 20 touch workload out of Jamal Williams this week.
Yeah, it also makes me like Robert Tonyan more. Remember, Robert Tonyan was coming still off of an injury last week. He did okay, didn't have 3 touchdowns, but I like him more this week as just kind of a reliable target, given, we'll see how this game actually goes in terms of total points.
Yeah, I also remember Robert Tonyan. Sorry.
Tonyan. Oh, sorry, guys.
I also remember him. I hope the Packers do because he has been a little bit absent from the score sheet last couple weeks. Yeah. So hopefully, they start to look in his direction because they need somebody else other than Devontae. He can't catch, almost 200 yards worth of passes every week. Though it's great. I mean, I'm not gonna complain. But for real football's sake, let's go over to
the worst team in the NFL, the Patriots.
Yeah, it might as well be. I mean, N'Keal Harry is out with a concussion. Julian Edelman was placed on IR with exploratory knee surgery. So, I mean, you're not starting any New England Patriots wide receiver anyway, unless you're absolutely desperate for Jacoby Myers, and that's a stretch there, at least for me. But you feeling the same way?
Yeah, don't start anybody. If you have to start Cam, sure, maybe, but I don't know. I don't touch any of them.
Yeah, and with pending weather too, that's actually a very big issue. And let's actually touch on that before we get deeper into the injury front here. So there is going to be high winds across the East Coast and a little bit deeper into the Midwest, I guess, with Green Bay, Minnesota, Las Vegas and Cleveland, New England and Buffalo, Chicago and Cincinnati. They're all going to have very high winds, 20 miles an hour at least, gusts up to 40 plus with some rain mixed in some spots. So if you've got a game that's a home game on the East Coast, I would certainly fade some of the wide receivers a little more in your decisions. We've gotten a lot of questions for wide receivers in those cities. So we'll certainly do our best to answer what we can. But when you're looking at matchups with high win totals, you're really looking at air yards being hampered not almost significantly, but a good deal enough to where that's something you have to factor into your start sit decision.
Yeah, I'm most nervous about Vegas. I think all these other teams, they either live there or they play outside. Minnesota's obviously in a dome. They're used to these elements. Vegas they're not. I mean, they were Oakland before. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. New Orleans, I'm a little nervous about Drew Brees also, just because we know that he's kind of weird on the road outside, and now we have the elements. Yeah. So in all of these games, I mean, start the ground games on pretty much every team with the exception of New England, because their offense is atrocious.
It is booty. So yeah, I would definitely lean toward the running back. I mean, Kareem Hunt was a top 5 play for me anyway, and that only just kind of accentuates the need for having to run the ball, control the clock, and just get out of Dodge. Yeah. So it stinks because Vegas and Cleveland, that was one of my matchups as far as, that's a game that had shootout potential. That's going to be definitely going to be affected by the wind and potential rain today. So, yeah. And then also the other 2 games that, Tennessee and Cincinnati, New Orleans and Chicago, those, have the same, they shouldn't have the rain, but the same kind of concern can be with the passing games and, those offenses.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into, speaking of Cincinnati, we're looking at Joe Mixon with that foot injury still on the shelf. So you're going to get your the best mustache currently in the NFL with Minshew on a bye. That's Gio Bernard. I think he's a solid start this week. A solid, at least an RB2 for me.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think RB2 only because that probably puts him at 13, but I think he's in the 10 to 14 range.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that game's going to be very close. Look at Cincinnati; they're playing really well right now with Joe Burrow. You might see some shorter passing, but that could put some yak into play for some of those receivers like Tyler Boyd, like T. Higgins, and the previously dusty AJ Green, who we'll get into later. Yeah. So let's get into their Ohio compadres here. Austin Hooper still out with that appendectomy. Figure that was going to be a multi-week sit for Austin Hooper. So Harrison Bryant is in, and he should be a fringe tight end 1. I'm not going to just go out and say he's tight end 8 on the week, but we did see some encouraging signs out of Harrison Bryant. So I'm say he's certainly worth considering if you have, a couple guys in that range. Like maybe you have a returning Dallas Goedert, maybe you have a Trey Burton, maybe you have guys like that where you're kind of weighing that you want to go with maybe a little bit more upside. I think Harrison Bryant certainly fits that bill.
Yeah, he's really interesting. I just picked him up in a dynasty league because I had Hooper, and I was like, oh, I don't even know if I want to start him this week. Then I was like, man, he looked good. I mean, for a dynasty, it definitely makes sense just to have him long term. It'll be interesting, the DFS discussion. There's so many of these 35, 3,200, even 3,000 kind of guys that all are in just this massive tier, and one of them is probably going to go off. You just kind of got to hope that you picked right.
Yeah, exactly. That's the glut of tight end, and you got to love it every week because you got those set and forget guys, those top 6 or 7, maybe even 4 or 5 some weeks, and then it's the rest. I mean, just sort them out of a hat, pretty much. Just pick them up. So other guys that we're looking at too in the early slate, Rashad Perriman is out with a concussion, so I mean that's gonna open up things for Denzel Mims. It's a pretty not a great matchup against Kansas City, but you got to figure just on volume alone, with Perriman and Crowder out as well. That Mims, at least on volume, I think he should get about 8 to 9 targets. What he does with them and the quality of those targets, that certainly can be considered, but I think he's at least a flex play this week.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I just think so much about DFS now. I like him in DFS too. I think a lot of people have kind of gotten on that bandwagon. I also really like the possibility of P. Ryan. He's a dirty flex to have to throw in there, but he's going to have targets. They literally don't have anyone else. I was shocked that Herndon still barely, he might not even had any targets last week. I just don't know who their other options are. Jeff Smith, so P. Ryan and Mims are it for me.
Yeah, the CPA Jeff Smith and Braxton Berrios, the public accountant dynamic duo there. So I've waxed poetic on them enough. I think we talked about the Jets enough here.
Yeah,
we've reached our quota. So let's go on the other side. Sammy Watkins is still out with a hamstring. So basically it's any combination of DeMarcus Robinson, Mecole Hardman, Byron Pringle. It's guys if you're desperate enough to throw them in, but I'm not banking on any of them, even Hardman.
I was just talking to my buddy about this, and I think that I don't have the numbers to back this up. I think the Chiefs are a running team now that pass when they need to. Like Mahomes' numbers support that. He's so efficient and so good that they don't need to throw that much. And look at that numbers that CEH had been doing, total carry count. And then now you add Bell, it's going to funnel through those two. And then as they need to, they'll have Mahomes do whatever he can. And so in a game like this, honestly, it's Tyreek Hill, it's Kelsey, and then it's the backs, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, Mahomes in this matchup does not have to do, any real heavy lifting. So that's going to be good to just lean on the run game, pass when you have to, and, get out unscathed, or at least as unscathed as you can get in that. Let's get into some of our questions because we have a couple here. We don't want to keep people waiting here. Our good friend Axel Jansen, who's with us every week, certainly appreciate it, my friend. Pick 2 for standard scoring: Allen Robinson, T. Higgins, or Cooper Kupp.
I don't want to it's because we're picking 2. I'm going to go with Robinson and Kupp. I want to go with Higgins and Robinson, but the wind scares me a little bit. I am trepidatious at what the Rams are going to do against Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. Did I say that? Are those the 2 names? I'm saying it right?
Jones and Xavier Howard. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with A-Rob and Kupp, but that's only because of the weather in wherever Cincinnati is.
Cincinnati is in Ohio.
There we go.
We have my intern in the back is doing some stat checking.
It's the 2 Higgins. I keep mixing up the 2 Higgins just this week for some reason because of the weather and everything else that's going on.
Yeah, it's weird because when we have to talk about Higgins, now we have to differentiate between 2 of them. So, it's tough. I would go Allen Robinson and Cooper Kupp too. Robinson is, I believe he just came up the protocol, so he's good to go.
Yeah.
But it's a tough matchup as well. But I think just volume alone, Allen Robinson is just a volume hog. Double digits is probably in the cards for him this week. Cooper Kupp, you haven't gotten that much out of the Rams passing game this year as far as Kupp and Woods being, close to wide receiver 1s. They've been more wide receiver 2s and into that kind of wide receiver 3 fringes. But I think they have the potential every week, especially in a matchup like Miami, where, they can just be wide receiver 1s. We haven't seen that, that big, huge Cooper Kupp volume game. And, that could certainly be in the cards as well. Let's go to the next question from our own at fightingchancefantasy.com. Brian Drake, host of the Fantasy Football Hustle. If you're not subscribed, what are you doing with your life? T.Y. Hilton, Zach Moss, Josh Kelly, Wayne Gallman, Philip Lindsay, half-point PPR flex.
I am actually going to go with Zach Moss here. I think that this is a really difficult one for Drake. Damn, man. Probably going to go with Moss or Hilton. I think those would be my 2 options.
Yeah. I'm eliminating Philip Lindsay out of the gate. I'm eliminating Gallman because we know what Tampa Bay can do against running backs. We saw it last week with Josh Jacobs. They've done it all year to any running back. Doesn't matter who, Christian McCaffrey, right on down the line. Look at Kelly still splitting. I'm gonna, all these backs are splitting other than Gallman. T.Y. Hilton really hasn't done much this year. We're looking at guys like Marcus Johnson and Zach Pascal and Trey Burton kind of take a little bit of the reins in that passing game. And now we got Michael Pittman coming back. So that's another factor that T.Y. Hilton, if he hasn't been able to do it before, now his chances are just going down. So Zach Moss, I'm going to go with too. I think that's a solid play. He's gotten more involved since he's come back, more than I thought he was going to be, at least after coming back. So yeah, I'm going to go with Zach Moss here.
I want to amend my answer, Brian, if you're still here listening, and that would be Hilton if you really need upside. Coming out of the bye, maybe they try and get their quote-unquote star wide receiver to be a little bit more integrated to the offense, but Moss for the floor, Hilton for like the highest ceiling.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. All right, so Arctic Orange, we have Dallas Goedert or TJ Hawkinson, half PPR, leaning Goddard.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Goddard here too. While I do like Hawk, Darius Leonard is coming back, and I'm just nervous about the middle of the field. Not that Hawkinson is necessarily the middle of the field guy, but Goddard, I want to see what that offense looks like with him, with the Eagles and with Wentz. I think just having even that one piece back is going to drastically boost Wentz's ability, and then they're going to have Jalen Reagor still stretching the field and whatnot. So.
Yeah, very fair. Hawkinson has been more touchdown dependent than we all like to see out of him. We haven't really seen any volume games out of him. So that's somewhere where I think if you need that upside, I think Dallas Goedert is the play. If you want to just bank in probably 8 to 9 points, I think Hawkinson is a good bet for that. But Goddard, now that they're starting to get pieces back in Philly in a good matchup against Dallas. Yeah. I mean, I think Dallas defense is to the point where if you've got anybody starting against them, you need to start them.
Yeah.
So they are terrible. That's why I've got Carson Wentz as a top 8 play this week.
I picked up Wentz to start him over Lamar this week.
Ooh, that's spicy.
Yeah. All right. We'll move on here to Axel's question. So Joshua Kelly, Wayne Gallman, or J.K. Dobbins for RB3 and standard. I'm going with Dobbins. Let's just see what happens. Roll the dice. It's not as if your other two guys are smash plays by any means, and Dobbins should at least get the passing work, even if the Gus bus is running into that stout Pittsburgh defensive line.
Yeah, here's the thing with those 3 running backs, you're getting touches no matter what. You're getting at least 10 touches, I would say, out of all 3 of those guys. Gallman has been a fade. Any running back going up against Tampa, yeah, you're going to get the possibility for a guy falling in the end zone or maybe breaking off a run. But by and large, they've shut down everybody that's come across them. So I think Gallman is out of the equation for me, and then it's Kelly or Dobbins. I would go with the massive upside in Dobbins, even though that's a tough matchup as well. Yeah. Against Pittsburgh. I believe it's at home, but still. I'm going to go Dobbins here, certainly. Definitely standard. I mean, Kelly's not getting catches. Dobbins might get a couple, but he's not really getting those receptions either. So, just go on the upside of Dobbins breaking off a huge run.
I think the entire industry is hoping that we're about to have the emergence of J.K. Dobbins. The stars have aligned that Ingram's going to be out for potentially 2 weeks after the bye. Kind of everybody thought maybe he's the second half guy. I know that I am. I mean, I have Dobbins in all my main leagues. So, yeah,
we've seen how many rookie running backs get their opportunity, and look at DeAndre Swift, and this is a guy that we were hoping would be like the first domino of those rookie running backs to get their shot and seize a backfield, and so we just haven't seen it yet. So now we're kind of we saw Miles Sanders do it this time last year too. Yep. So that could be something to factor into where J.K. Dobbins has Ingram out of the way. He can certainly has the talent over Gus Edwards. So this is as good a spot of any for J.K. Dobbins to really assert himself. We
did it at the same time. We did it twice again. You go.
Oh, my Lanta. All right. So 2 out of 3 standard scoring, Jamal Williams, CEH, or Josh Jacobs.
Kayvon asks in our group chat, and I don't know. I think I'm going Jamal Williams, and I think I before said Jacobs, and I am now pivoting back to CEH. The main thing, and it's the Bell narrative. Are they gonna try and give Bell in red zone carries just to have him get touchdowns? So it's 100% Jamal for me, and then I'm flipping a CEH Jacobs coin.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm taking Jake. Oh, geez. I'm gonna go Jacobs. against the Browns. I like that matchup. I think they're going to keep it more on the ground. Weather's going to be a factor. I think if they're going to do anything, it's going to be on the ground with Carr being a compliment more than anything, even though Carr has done a lot better this year. I do like him going forward, but I think this is a get right week for him after just getting absolutely stonewalled by the Buccaneers.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. Let's dip into some more of the injury front here before we dip back into the questions, because we have some more here and we will get to them. Absolutely. For the late slate, Michael Thomas and Marquez Callaway are both out. Michael Thomas, if you took him with your 7th overall pick, you're hating life right now. That's me in like probably 10 leagues.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But right now, I mean, Traquan Smith is an okay option. If you really need a wide receiver 3, even Deontay Harris, I don't hate as a flex option here because he's going to get it's those two and Jared Cook and Kamara out of the backfield. That's pretty much your wide receivers for the day. So, I mean, unless they want to throw in little Jordan Humphrey or whatever random name they want to pull out. Is Ted getting? I mean, they want to sign Ted in for the day. They want no,
I mean they'll roll exactly what they have because honestly they have enough pass catchers across all of their positions. So
okay, I could not think of the slot guy for the life of me that they had like a decade ago, and it's killing me. All right, so let's go to San Francisco, your neck of the woods here. Jeff Wilson's out with an ankle. So who out of this backfield would you trust more for fantasy wise? JaMycal Hasty, McKinnon, or the returning Tevin Coleman? I'm going to ask you to sort out this backfield because I certainly can't.
You got to go with Coleman. I mean, Hasty at this point is just a very deep dart throw. I don't see any reason to think that they wouldn't go with Coleman. They've always shown that they liked him, even though I don't like him. And McKinnon, who the hell knows what his usage is at this point? And Jerick McKinnon is back to being like a Nyheim Hines type thing until we see otherwise. The main reason to think McKinnon could do something is just if Seattle gets up, but this will be more of a competitive game, I'm hoping, than most people are expecting.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. And the guy I was thinking of was Lance Moore, by the way.
Yes.
That is a blast from the past. That was my bench guy. He had a bench spot on my teams for about 7 straight years, and then he went to Pittsburgh and got irrelevant. But yeah, Lance Moore was awesome back in the day.
He was.
So in Dallas now, Andy Dalton will not play because of a concussion. So James Madison's own Ben DiNucci is going to get the start here. Is he a solid option against Philly, or is he going to bend a knee?
I think he's a terrible option. The only thing that you're hoping for is that he's going to run a little. And the Eagles' defensive line is so awesome right now. They just play hard and play lights out. So I'm not touching anything that I want to get away from everything in that matchup that I can.
I only said that because I wanted to use bend and knee. That's the only reason I wanted to use that. Who knows? He could be the next Tony Romo. We don't know, but
that'd be so wild if it happened another time.
It was wild when it happened. I remember watching that game because it was Sunday Night Football against the Giants, I believe. And then was it Bledsoe? It was Bledsoe that it happened to, right?
Yeah.
Which is wild that that happened to him the second time.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, and then the same thing happened with Romo to Dak, and then Dak pretty much took over. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. It would definitely save someone's job there in Mike McCarthy. So,
yeah, for real. And then just a couple other notes. I mean, Miles Sanders and Alshon Jeffrey are out for Philly. We know Boston Scott is going to get that most of that work there, and he's certainly an RB1 against Dallas. I think that's a pretty much locked in. You're starting anybody you can against Dallas within reason, of course. But the good news for Philly is they're getting pass catchers back. They now have Dallas Goedert coming back. They have Jalen Reagor coming back, who's off of IR. So now this Philadelphia offense with Fulgham and Jalen Reagor and Dallas Goedert, they're starting to get healthy. They're starting to get talent back. Some renewed interest in Carson Wentz going forward.
Yeah, there definitely is for me. I was looking at his schedule. He has a bye next week, but after that, he has probably one of the best schedules as for a quarterback. So in the league, I said that I have Lamar, and I picked up Wentz to start him over. I'm actually just trying to trade Lamar and just see if I can get some picks for next year, and then just roll with more Wentz rest of season type thing, or at least after the bye. So it's definitely looking up for them.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, that's somebody I'm looking at, where I have some quarterback issues, and, maybe you could swing a trade for him, and you don't have to give much, but the window, if he has a good matchup or if he has a good game in this matchup, the window is going to shut a little bit more on being able to get him at the buy will help. I will say that the buy will help in getting him off of people's minds. So that window, even in a good game, will stay open a little bit. But after next week, I'd say with the matchups that they have, I think that that's certainly that's your window to go get him. And then two more notes here. We talked about Wayne Gallman getting the start, and that's because Devontae Freeman has an ankle injury. Not going to really worry about Deion Lewis taking a couple touches. And then on the other side in that game, the Monday night game, Tampa will not have Chris Godwin, who has been this year's Mr. Glass, keeps getting hurt. It's tough to see. But Mike Evans will be shadowed by James Bradbury. Still should be a good volume play, and we know you can't sit Mike Evans. Scotty Miller has been just inexplicably one of the kings of air yards this year, which I don't understand it. But Tyler Johnson's in play too. This is Antonio Brown Eve, so that might be the last week that Scotty Miller and Johnson are viable starts. I don't know about Tyler Johnson as a viable start, but that's certainly a desperation guy. I think certainly Miller is a lot more viable. But anything you want to add with that?
No, I think you hit it on the head with the Antonio Brown Eve. It's interesting. We'll get to this in a little bit, but the amount of players that might be available on waiver wires and stuff that are definitely going to be stashes for the next few weeks if you can go and pick them up. So,
yeah, absolutely. And there's got to be a lot of landmines too, because we're looking at guys that were pretty solid for weeks. Now they're rendered irrelevant, and those are guys. If you're a box score watcher, you're going to be like, oh, why is he out there? Why is Scotty Miller out there? And go pick him up, and then he goes 1 for 12, and then you're wondering, what's going on. You got to read outside of the box scores. Tune into us. We're gonna, tune into the Fantasy Football Hustle. All these shows, we're trying to, get you out of that thinking. Certainly. So, what do you think, Gary? You want to get some more questions?
Let's do that. Yeah.
All right. Arctic Orange is back with Josh Allen or Justin Herbert, half PPR. This is a weekly struggle, and I hear you, brother.
I mean, it's Herbert. You got to ride the flames. There's no reason to not start Herbert. I mean, they're playing against both solid defenses, in Patriots and the Broncos. So I'm going to go with Herbert, who's just been lights out.
Yeah, I think you got to start Herbert here. He's a top 8 guy for me. Where's Josh? I mean, Josh Allen was the guy I was routinely ranking in the top 2. I mean, and he's just kind of fallen off a little bit. But, if the Bills are going to be a contender, they need Josh Allen to be week 1, 2, and 3. Josh Allen. So
it seems like the drop in Josh Allen tied in very well with the drop in John Brown, with him getting injured.
Yeah, that's a good corollary too. Yeah, they're gonna need him back, and he's been out of the lineup, and that's certainly their stretcher. They need him. Yeah. I mean, they have Beasley over the middle. They have Diggs really solid for intermediate. They really haven't had a tight end working for most of the year. I mean, they've had Knox, but he hasn't really done much either. So yeah, Brown might be the biggest key to that offense. And, everybody's talking about how well Diggs is acclimated to Buffalo, but Brown was Mr. Reliable last year. So, that's certainly a key there. Let's go with Axel Jansen here. Chase Claypool, Michael P. Ryan, Brandon Ayuk, or JaMychal Hasty for a flex and a standard. This is easy for me. What do you think about you? What do you think about, Gary?
I'll let you answer because we agree.
Brandon Ayuk is an absolute smash this week against Seattle. With Debo out, he is getting a lot more opportunity in that offense. I wrote about him in my start, sits, and sleepers. Tricks, treats, and creepers with the Halloween theme this past week. But yeah, Brandon Ayuk is an absolute smash for me. I think he needs to be in every lineup. He's going to be heavily owned in DFS, so look for him to have just a great week this week.
Yeah.
Jane, our good friend from Fighting Chance Fantasy as well. Tim Patrick or Joe Michael Hasty in half PPR?
I'm going to go with Tim Patrick. We don't really know what's going on with Drew Lock in that offense, but I think Tim Patrick, if we expect Herbert to do what he's going to do with the Chargers, they're going to be in comeback mode, and Tim Patrick has become old reliable for that team.
Yeah, that's and one thing that you will note too, that he is questionable, so that is something to look into as well. And he has actually been trending downward as far as his actual availability for the afternoon slate. So that's something to look into if he doesn't play. I mean, make sure you're getting Hasty in your lineup. At least it's somebody that's trick. All right, Ike, keep killing it. Appreciate it, my friend. Love the support. Axel Jansen with some more here. Anthony Ferkser, Dalton Schultz, Will Dissly, or Albert Okui-Bunam for tight end.
I'm actually going to go with Albert O. I think that, he's been getting targets lately. Patrick, as we just said, is a little banged up. They just need something there, and he's shown up. I mean, I would normally want to pick Dalton Schultz, but who the hell knows if bend the knee can actually pass to him or throw passes. So
do I that's the dusty narrative I wanted to just dust off here with the quarterback and tight end combo with Dalton Schultz and bend the knee. So it's between him and Alberto. I would probably go with Alberto for upside, but I think Dalton Schultz is at least a floor play. Granted, outside of the top 12, probably out of your top 15 in tight ends, but I think you're going to get a little something out of him. And that's really, you're just hoping the dude gets a 1-yard touchdown at this point, if you're going to start tight ends out in that range.
Yep.
So I think we got one more here. Luke Miller, Dallas Goddard, or Jared Cook, non-PPR.
I'm going to go with Goddard again. While I understand Cook has a solid touchdown potential, it's this exact same, if worse than Goddard. And one is playing in not Chicago and not outside on the road.
Not Chicago. I mean, we're all in not Chicago, so yeah, happy for that. But yeah, I would go with Goddard as well. I think he's a solid start today in his return to the Philadelphia Eagles offense. I do have some more questions for you, Gary, if you're ready. If I can, I
got one for you first. And
okay,
it's not a start sit. It's what do you make of Dalvin Cook with a groin going into this game? Against the Packers.
I look for Madison to be a little bit more involved, and I think I think Dalvin Cook is still gonna just dominate touches, but I do think that Madison is going to have a role today. I think his role is going to be more than a fully healthy. If Dalvin Cook was fully healthy, I think the role that he would have in that, would be minimal. But I think Madison is good for 6 to 8 touches.
Yep.
So I think that's a good number. And then also keep in mind that, you're not starting Madison really unless you're just absolutely desperate and you're just being destroyed on bye weeks, but he always has that. He has potential. We've seen it even in very limited work last year when he was when he was a rookie.
Yep.
That he was able to just get some good solid gains, some 8-10 yard gains and flash. So you're not expecting him to do that this week. You're really not starting him, but he always has that potential and he's going to get a little bit more runs. So do I hate the play? Not really, but temper your expectations, because 6 to 8, unless you break off a 50-60 yard touchdown, it's really not going to be fruitful in fantasy. Probably more of a top 60 to 50 to 60 play at the position.
Yep. All right.
Let's go. We got another question here, and we're going with that deep dive, the weekly deep dive. Kyle Juszczyk, Jeremy McNichols, or Samaje Perine?
Dude, it's always juice, Axel. Always juice, especially when they're not a fully healthy squad. You always go with, that Shanahan's going to try and scheme him up a little bit. And without Debo, they're going to have less of that schemable player. So I'm going to go with juice.
You know what? I will go with juice here, but I will throw out two more names that I think could be relevant today if you're this deep in. One, if you're going the fullback route, Alec Ingold is getting more involved in the passing game. He always seems to be a safety valve in the use check in that kind of usage for Derek Carr. So that's a guy that maybe if you're trying to think a little outside the box, it might be an option there. Another one is Darrell Williams for Kansas City, who, if this game goes as we think it's going to go, with CEH and Bell doing a lot of the heavy lifting, Darrell Williams could. I mean, this game is almost I don't know if it's 3 touchdowns yet on the line. It was 20 points the last time I saw it.
Yeah.
But if this game goes the way we think it's going to go, they could just take out both guys, and Darrell Williams could get 8 to 10 touches basically just out of, keeping their stars healthy. So that's another guy. If you're in a deeper, you're looking for a guy that maybe I'd say he could be out there. I don't think a lot of guys are hanging on to him knowing CH and Bell are doing that heavy lifting.
Yep, I agree.
So, all right. So if you don't have any more for me, I got a few for you here. If you're ready,
let's do it.
Pick one: Darnell Mooney, DJ Dallas, JaMychal Hasty, Zach Pascal.
It's between Pascal and Mooney for me. A-Rod playing confuses me. And those quarterbacks are probably the same thing. Mooney probably for the upside, Zach Pascal for the floor.
Okay. Yeah, I would. That was actually mine. And I believe in the Warrior or Hunger Ball. I can't remember, but that's like bye weeks have killed me with James Robinson and Brandon Cooks and guys like that not playing. So I think I'm going to lean to Mooney there. James White or LaMichael Perine?
Perine?
Yeah, I think Perine's. It's weird to say that I think he's safer than James White, the king of safety. But I mean, might as well be out on the field wearing a reflective vest.
Yeah, I mean, they got their asses handed to them by the Niners, and yet the James White had one target, and that was it.
Yeah, it's just what a world we live in, where we can't even start James White anymore. I mean, we kind of knew it was coming, but damn, it hurts. We've gone. The James White era is starting to fade here a little bit. So I'll pour one out later. We got another question in the chat again from Arctic Orange. Hunter Henry or Dallas Goedert? Standard. I'm leaning Goddard, and so am I.
Yeah, I think that Goddard, now that he's back, is probably a top 6 tight end every week.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what we've been saying about Dallas Goedert is, of the tight ends, if his incumbent were to get hurt or whatever happens, that Dallas Goedert is probably the best value at tight end. He would be a top 6, top 7 tight end going forward for you if he had the job by himself. So, I mean, obviously without Ertz, here we go. I mean, yeah, it's not the greatest offensive environment. We're seeing Carson Wentz, he's starting to get weapons back though. So that's only going to help this offense going forward. Axel Jansen in the chat again. Adam Thielen, Allen Robinson, Tyler Boyd, or Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 2 for PPR. And I'm not going to say start, there's got to be another start because you tell us every week.
I was going to say every week that you're going to get this like dumpster dive of an RB3 question from Axel and obscenely high, like reach for the sky wide receivers that you have to choose among gods. Maybe not among gods, but I don't have any clue who I want to start here. I really want to go Justin Jefferson, but I feel like it's disrespectful to put him in over Thielen.
But Thielen, we'll see. Jair Alexander,
Yeah.
I would assume. I mean, it's possible he could be on Justin Jefferson, but I think the better prediction would be him on Thielen. So then we're talking about Allen Robinson or Tyler Boyd. Boyd in Cincinnati, that's tough. Robinson in Chicago, again, tough.
I like Tyler Boyd more than Allen Robinson this week.
I would go with Boyd. I mean, I'm looking at air yards and the ADOT for those guys. I would probably go with Boyd. I think, Cincinnati's going to try to pass a little bit more, I would assume. Being with Gio Bernard versus the Bears with David Montgomery. I would think the Bears want to set up, their passing more with the run than Cincinnati, who is on a backup running back. Joe Burrow has been running really well with 3 wide receivers. Boyd has been his favorite target out of those 3, though we've seen, just on a target share standpoint. So I'm going to go with Boyd.
I'm going to agree. Boyd has probably the highest floor and has a almost equal ceiling.
I think the highest floor, the ceilings are comparable. So yeah, but I will say, Justin Jefferson is a really good play this week. Josh Jackson did a really, really good job last week on Brandon Cooks, better than I thought he would be. I was touting Brandon Cooks' wide receiver infinity, and that kind of bit me a little bit, but I was really surprised at how Josh Jackson did with being out for or being in for Kevin King as Green Bay's other cornerback last week against Houston. So yeah, Justin Jefferson they're all good plays. I think Tyler Boyd above those.
And Darnell Savage is playing now. He was out last week. So I have one for you. Half point, Dobbins or Justin Jackson?
Half point.
I know what your rankings say, so I'm asking you.
You're killing me, man.
You do not have them close to each other.
I know.
I can't decide.
I'm rethinking this because I really want to take Dobbins, but I think Jackson is the safer play.
It's just so weird. You look at Denver and you're like, oh, it's a good rush defense. Then you're like, oh wait, the Steelers for Dobbins. Damn.
Right. There's no gimmies here. Jackson, I'm a vanilla dude.
All right.
Though, God, yeah, Jackson. That's it. Not saying anymore because I'm gonna think through my head, and we'll be here for another half hour. Harrison Bryant or Trey Burton?
Have this same debate, and I was a question I was going to ask you. I think I'm going with Harrison Bryant just to see what happens. I'm really confused how the Lions are the second best tight end team. Is it just because their cornerbacks are so crappy that teams aren't used? It's one of those misleading numbers.
Because they're not targeted, because they're targeting the perimeter.
Like in all my DFS lineups, it's like that. That's my debate is if I'm going to punt, am I doing Burton or am I doing Bryant? And I think right now I'm actually just looking to see there's Bryant.
Hedge.
Yeah. I have one Bryant, I have one Smith, and I have one Burton.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I've got I think I showed you mine. I've got my 49ers stack going. So I've got Kittle in there and punted on a couple other things, but
yeah. I'm going to go with Burton. I'm changing what I originally said. I'm going to go with Burton. I think that he's just more trusted as not being the rookie.
Yeah, I'd say he's a much higher floor, but there's a lot that remains to be seen with how this tight end situation shakes out in Cleveland especially when Austin Hooper comes back. We see Bryant. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they traded Njoku. I'm surprised they haven't already. And just gone forward with Hooper and Bryant because we know they love to play 12 personnel. And, that's certainly something that, they clearly had in mind when they drafted him. So, Yeah. Amari Cooper or Deontay Johnson?
Deontay, solely because you just have to go with the quarterback, even though this could totally be a Chase Claypool game and or Juju game, whatever. But you just got to trust Roth over Ben DiNucci.
And Amari Cooper will see Darius Slay as well, so that might be that's a contributing factor as well. I have Cooper over Deontay Johnson. I just think that it's just so hard at this point. I think, I think he was getting the full week of practice, obviously, with not being cleared on the concussion protocol for Andy Dalton. I think a little bit of chemistry may have been in a week. I mean, you're always trying to work with your number one.
It's true.
So I think that's going to be something where they're going to make him, he's going to be coming in more on shorter passes, let him kind of get a feel for the offense, get in a rhythm. So you might see a little bit more on those like comeback routes from Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb, that's a guy I have kind of down there a little bit too, just based on the target tree being shortened with the new quarterback in there too. So that's why I think Dalton Schultz could be involved. I think Ezekiel Elliott be involved out of the backfield as well. I think they're going to start leaning on him a lot more now that they have Ben DiNucci, and it doesn't even matter when Andy Dalton comes back. So
you have James White incredibly high in your rankings, by the way. You have him at 26, above Dobbins, above P. Ryan, above Kelly, above Lindsey.
I can't quit him, man. It's tough. I think somebody has to do something in that offense.
Cam's going to run, and he's going to throw to Demir Bird and whatever, Jacoby Myers.
We'll see. But we got Axel back in with trade one away in standard. Nick Chubb, Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler. I would wait until one of them plays. As difficult as it is, though, if you had to trade one now, it's probably why you're asking us.
I'm trading Chubb. I'm Sanders will get you the most, but he's also going to be the most valuable because he'll be back the soonest.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yep.
Chubb has the most name value because everyone's going to think that Eckler is now part of a 3-part split, whereas at least Chubb, it's just with Hunt. Yeah, I'm going to trade Chubb.
Yeah, I think Chubb can get you the most return. You can probably get it right now. I think you could probably get, if you're trading for a wide receiver, you could probably get the Tyler Boyd range. That'd be a good, like Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. You could probably get Cooper Kupp for him, I would say.
Yeah.
I'd say that range you might be able to swing depending on how someone feels about him. Mike Evans. Jarvis Landry wouldn't be terrible. That's about the limit.
Jarvis Landry for Nick Chubb?
That's about just on volume. I think that's about the limit I would go.
It's far too down, way far down.
Really?
You need to go much higher up for Chubb. Chubb is still considered a top 10 running back when he's playing, a weekly top 10. If it's I'm assuming it's
no, I know I know
Landry.
I understand
that. See what Landry does this week because I'm not buying in that Landry's their wide receiver one. Landry's just been off all season.
Yeah, just the condensed target tree. I think he's pretty much locked into 8 to 10 targets each week now. And then even though they're not passing, they're only passing at a 50% clip. I think that's second lowest in the league, but it's still 50%. Baker Mayfield, especially if they get a negative game script, I think they're prime, and even in neutral game scripts, they're, passing a little bit more. So I think if he gets into starts getting into 30, 35 attempts, I think Landry is good for at least a third of those. I think he's got a 30% target share, 25 at minimum, if things are going right in that offense.
Yeah.
Let's go with J-Rod 691, DeMarcus Robinson, Rashard Higgins, or John Brown, 0.5 PPR.
I think we're both
Higgins.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jared, thanks for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. USC G Scruggs 22, Robert Woods, Allen Robinson, or Gio Bernard in the flex, full PPR.
I'm actually going to go Gio. I think he's just the most guaranteed touches, especially with the weather and stuff going on there.
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree with Gio Bernard there. I think it's tough with Allen Robinson and Robert Woods. They're not, you're not getting what you thought you were getting out of that. I mean, Robinson's just coming off the protocol, so that's one thing. Woods, you're not getting what you thought you were getting from him, so that's certainly a tough decision. But I think Gio Bernard is the play here. So I'm trying to take a look at some of these inactives, and there's no surprises. Mark Ingram is inactive. Obviously, Mixon we know is out. Hooper's out. Jones is out.
They just announced that Gardner Minshew is going to miss next week. Yeah, and I mean, it was expected, but interesting. Something to talk about on Wednesday, but still.
Yeah, the potential. I think it's Jake Luton. I don't know how you say it.
Yeah, Mike the Neck Glennon.
Or Don Flamenco, Mike Glennon. Let's go with a few more questions here.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield or Jimmy Garoppolo?
Dude, just don't ask this question. Like, it's Jimmy. Like, I'm not confident that it's Jimmy because now that Coleman's back, if Coleman hadn't been playing, I would have felt more comfortable with Jimmy. But now that Coleman, like, they're going to, I don't know. This game is just going to be so different. I just looked on Twitter and like the Niners are going to have, all 8 of their non-IR, defensive linemen. They're getting their 3 corners back. And then they get Coleman. This is going to be a wild game. It always is between the Seahawks and the Niners. The only reason, if there wasn't weather, I mean, it's a blowout Baker, right? There's no question there. So yeah. I have no idea. I want to take my shot and say Jimmy, but I would not fault you if you decide to go Baker. Although I guess that's why you're asking the question.
Right. Le'Veon Bell or DeAndre Swift?
Swift. It's tough, but Swift. We're getting so into this Bell narrative.
I was going to say Bell.
We're so deep into what we expect to happen.
Deep state fighting chance kickoff here. We are deep into the thick of it, infiltrating team systems to get you the Le'Veon Bell narrative of going up against the Jets. We got a defense question here: Bengals, Dolphins, or Raiders? I forgot this is his 2 defense league.
Yeah, I'm actually going with the Dolphins. Like I said, I like Byron Jones and Xavier Howard going up against Kupp and Woods. Not that that's their one-dimensional team, and they've been good. They're actually, the Dolphins are kind of my punt defense. Them and the Browns this week. So
yeah, it's tough because they're all just intermingled, and I kind of like the Raiders a little bit against Cleveland. They're Baker's mistake prone. I think the Raiders pass rush has been middle of the road. The Browns have been very susceptible to, if they have 1 turnover, they have 4.
Yeah.
It's either all or nothing for them. So I think if they can get Baker out of his element early, I think that could be something where, with the weather potentially playing a factor, I think that's something where the Raiders can turn that around and maybe slow it down and maybe make it more of a defensive struggle than an offensive minded game. So that's where I'm leaning there, and that was kind of what I was leaning to. I just picked up randomly Carolina to play on Thursday, their defense. It's just based on that same narrative where if Matt Ryan throws a pick, they were getting sacked a little bit too. So
I have 2 questions for you. One, you have Hawk above Goddard. I'm just seeing that. But you have Gesicki above Robert Tonyan, and I don't understand why.
I have Tonyan very low. I have Gesicki because the Rams have not defended the slot very well, and they've also not defended tight ends very well.
Okay.
So I think Gesicki, if he was going to do anything this week, I think I still have him. I think he's still outside of my top 12,
Yeah.
but he's a guy, if you're streaming, and that might be a guy that might be out there in leagues, that I don't hate it it's a desperate play. If you're, if you have, tight ends on bye and, you're really looking for somebody, I think that's at least an okay play from a thesis standpoint.
All right.
Yeah. We have a kicker question. Let's Kai Forbath, Dan Bailey, Robbie Gould, or Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott.
Jake Elliott or
so between
Robbie
him and
Gould.
Gould.
Yeah. Kai Forbath, is he on the Rams now?
Yeah, they waived Sam Sloman, so it's the Kai Forbath show now.
Man, it was really hard to try and keep track of where he was at. Go with Elliott. He's in the Dome, right? I think that they're playing in Dallas.
Yes.
So go with the Dome just to avoid everything else. But and honestly, we expect them to get a lead, and so at some point they're just going to be kicking field goals because
they're home.
They're at home.
They're in Philly. I'm sorry. I'm still going with Jake Elliott.
Yeah.
I think they have more of a chance to stall out. Granted, it's Dallas but Philly's offense is still a bit of a work in progress too. So
we have to pick two. Good call. And Robbie Gould. I don't. Robbie Gould. Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
I'm definitely not going with
Elliott. Golden Elliott.
Yeah, I'm not going with Bailey for sure. And Miami is supposed to actually have good weather. I don't think there's any weather concerns there. Right. Seattle, I don't think that there are concerns there either. And so I'd rather just go with the higher scoring game with the Niners and the Eagles.
Yeah, agreed. And then for all you kicker fans out there, Mason Crosby is active. So there you go. Yeah. Weight off my shoulders. Let's want to run in some more questions and head on out.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Rapid fire. Buffalo or Indianapolis defense?
Colts. Sorry. Yeah, Colts. Man. No.
Detroit.
No, I know. I want to say Buffalo, but their defense has just not been good. Bill Belichick's going to figure out some way to do something there. So I'm probably going to go with the Colts defense coming off the bye, even though it's against the Lions.
Yeah, they find a way to manufacture. New England does. So, I'm going to go same with Indianapolis. Jalen Reagor or Wayne Gallman? It's easy for me. Yeah, Reagor. Jerry Jeudy or Jared Cook for flex?
Judy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Cook.
Man, that's weird.
It is weird, but I think I'm going to go with Cook here just based on, right now their wide receivers in New Orleans are just in flux. Go with what you know. It's Jared Cook. I think he could have a good day, maybe fall into the end zone. That's all we're hoping for really out of him. Tannehill or Burrow? Both in the same game, both in potential windy situations.
I'm going with Tannehill.
I'm going with Burrow. I had Burrow over Tannehill. Shorter A-dot, running a lot better. I mean, I shouldn't even say running a lot better because Tannehill's been on fire since he's gotten the starting job. But Burrow's got some wheels too. I mean, it might be a tiebreaker there.
I got to go back to this Trey Burton, Harrison Bryant thing. I can't decide. This is me in my dynasty league right now, trying to decide. What I'm asking you, legit. I have Ertz on IR, and I dropped Hooper because this is just a smaller rostered league.
Burton.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold on.
That's what your rankings say.
Yeah, I'm going. My heart is with Burton.
Okay.
I'll make it.
Plus, it's inside. Your lock of the week. It's not your lock of the week. We flip flopped on this 4 times.
I've said Burton the whole time between those two.
Well, I don't remember that.
Write it down. No, I'm just kidding. I was gonna say something and I can't remember what it was. Anyway, let's see. Deontay Johnson or Marquise Brown? Deontay for me.
It's Deontay, but I think that I just like the fact that Marquise should have more of a target floor. Because I'm worried. I'm worried this is going to be a Claypool. Like, you're going to have Humphrey and you're going to have Peters, and one person is left out that's not Humphrey and Peters. Not as if they don't have a second good corner, but in particular, those two guys are awesome, and you have three awesome wide receivers.
Right. I mean, whoever is in for Jimmy Smith, that's the guy you're picking on. So
yeah,
I mean, it's tough. Juju's probably. They're going to have to move him around, and he's going to have to play on the perimeter if he wants any shot of doing anything today with to get away from Marlon Humphrey.
I do have one for you: Marvin Jones or MVS?
Marvin Jones.
Really? All right. That's my Scott Fishbowl question of the day.
MVS is a flip a coin and hope he catches it, and that's another full coin flip. It's like MVS is basically Dungeons and Dragons. You're rolling your dice. You have a 20-sided die. 2 of them are he caught it.
Then MVS, Zach Moss, or Wayne Gallman. Pick one.
Moss.
That's how I have it. All right, we're good then.
Yeah, I mean, I have to start Gallman in the league, and I'm not looking forward to my 2.3 points. But yeah, it's a dynasty where I'm not tanking. I shouldn't say tanking, but it's that league that I traded pretty much all night. I traded McCaffrey this week. I traded Hopkins. DJ Dallas or AJ Dillon? DJ Dallas, 100%.
Yeah, even if Carson plays, I'm still going with Dallas over Dillon.
Yeah. And DPJ, Jakeem Grant, or Jalen Guyton? I'm going to go with Guyton. He's been getting a lot of those deep shots.
Yeah.
I think he's getting more involved in the offense. The Chargers didn't really have a third guy that was going to ever be used outside of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. They might have found it with Jalen Guyton is like that in the mold of a Tyrell Williams field stretcher.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the perfect comp for him. DPJ, I think, could have a nice little floor, but Guyton.
Yeah, DPJ is a guy that I was concerned about coming into the NFL because he had all the potential in the world. He was a top recruit going to Michigan and never put it together and was drafted for the most part based on that potential. And now, I mean, he's getting more involved in Cleveland. That's a guy that could be someone to watch. And then another deep name, he came off of IR this week, and he was their third wide receiver before Higgins. Before he got hurt, was placed on IR, and then Higgins kind of took a little bit of that, was Kadero Hodge in Cleveland. That's a deep guy that is probably out there in a lot of leagues that, we'll see what shakes out. We pretty much assume that it's going to be Higgins, and I think it's going to be Higgins too. But Hodge could find his way into more snaps than Higgins, than DPJ. So that's a guy certainly to think about deeper if you're really looking for wide receivers.
And Axel, if he's there, I would go with Deontay Harris over all of these guys.
Yeah, I think target wise, I think just based on what the Saints have right now at receiver, I think, I would go with Deontay Harris. But yeah, Guyton, I think, if you remember Tyrell Williams from like 5-6 years ago, where he was the 2 for 125 and 2 touchdown guy, almost every third week when he was with the Chargers, that's pretty much Jalen Guyton right now. He's going to get 2 or 3 deep shots a game, catch one of them, hope he gets into the end zone. I mean, right. I mean, they're at Denver. That's a pretty decent matchup as far as getting that. And then we have one more question, and then we'll wrap her up here, Gary. The chef, Gunnar Olszewski, John Hightower, or Jay Jaw?
No.
I mean, if we're going off targets and what I think, what we know, I'm going to go Hightower.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Hightower and Jay Jaw probably nothing after this week once Alshon and Rager are back. I guess they still need like that third person. No, wait, there's Greg Ward and Fulham. I forgot about that.
Yeah. If you're going with a deep guy, and this is not a homer pick, I promise when I say this, Malik Taylor for Green Bay. If you're looking, yeah. He's gotten a little bit involved, and that's a guy that, he scored a touchdown 2 weeks ago, I believe. So he's getting a little more involved. If you're looking in that range of wide receiver, I think that's a guy that has a little more upside than any of those guys. I mean, we're looking at Jay Jaws, the wide receiver 5 right now. Hightower is a 4, if maybe. So yeah. All right, Gary, you want to head up on out of here?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Feel free to send us, questions or whatever on Twitter.
Yep. 100%.
Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Send your questions over to us at KTompkinsII at Gary Haddow. We will absolutely answer them for you before kickoff. Check in on Fighting Chance Fantasy as well. FightingChanceFantasy.com. Also at FC Fantasy Sports is our Twitter page, Twitter site for the site. I can't talk. So Gary, this week we have one of our biggest guests to date on Fighting Chance Live, which you're watching us. We stream usually on Wednesdays. We're working it out with this person, but I think we can safely say we'll have him on this week. We're just working it out. But from The Athletic, Nando DeFino will be joining us. Longtime fantasy analyst, one of the greatest guys, and a Cuse guy, which I had no idea. He's from the area. So I've been talking with him all week about just random Syracuse things. And it's great to get to know him, and someone I've looked up to in the fantasy community for over a decade now. So I know Gary feels the same way.
Definitely.
So absolutely privileged to have him on. We'll keep you updated as far as when that live stream is going to be. But we'll have him on this week, whether it's Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. We'll certainly let you know, but we're super excited to have him on. Anything else, Gary?
No, man, that was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, send those questions over at KTompkinsII at Gary Haddow 1, and good luck in week 8, everybody.